Hey, this is a little tutorial on using your basic adjustments in Adobe Photoshop Elements Editor. You can see I'm in my program here, and yours might look a little different from mine. You can set it up different ways. You can have your adjustments up here and your layers down here. It's really up to you. So your screen might look a little different than mine. But with that being said, we're going to open a photo to work on. And I keep my photos in different places. I have a couple on my desktop, some I have in a folder called Photos. So when it comes to opening a picture to work on, you just go to wherever you save your photos and open them that way. So here I'm going to open one called Apples. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. To zoom in and out in Elements, you just use this little magnifying glass. Then whichever one of these you have selected, this will zoom in. The little minus sign will zoom out. So you can see here, this is your file. It's called background. It has a little lock beside it, which basically means that your photo is protected. So whatever changes you make to it, you can delete those and it won't have affected your original file. So for now, it's usually a good idea to keep your background like this and with the little lock beside it. I have my adjustments down here. Like I said, you might have yours somewhere else. If you can't find your adjustments at all, go under Window, and you'll have different options of things to bring up, but here's your adjustments right here. And mine's already open, as you can see by the little check sign. So then you just go under these little lines and arrow, you pull down this tab, and you just play around with whatever adjustments you might want to make to your photo. We're going to try the brightness and contrast first. Here you can see you have your background, your apple photo, and then up here is your brightness contrast layer. So the best way I can really think to describe or to try to explain layers is to compare it to a cake with icing. Your background is like the cake, the batter you've baked, the actual cake itself. And then these brightness, contrast, these different other effects are like the layers of icing. You can add them, but you have to have that foundation first. So in this case, this is your cake. The brightness, contrast, hue, saturation, that's just like icing on top of the cake. The good thing is in Photoshop, you can delete those if you don't like the results, and when you're baking a real cake, it's not so easy. So Photoshop definitely has the advantage on that. So here we have brightness, contrast, and just play around with this. That's me really increasing the brightness, decreasing it. Usually it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Making it too bright isn't good, making it too dark isn't usually either. Contrast, just play around, see what you think. And I like a little bit of a lower contrast on this because it, I think, brings out the texture of the wood and the apples a little more. Now, say we didn't like what we just did at all. We didn't like this brightness contrast layer and we wanted to delete it. We would just hold down on this and drag it down to this little trash can down here. And now it's gone. You've deleted one of the layers. But you still have your original photo. So I'm going to undo that. And let's play with a hue and saturation. This is where you can turn it black and white if you want. I don't think this photo looks good black and white. Change the hues. Oops. I mean, you can get really funky with all this if you want to. You can play with the lightness. I'm not really going to do anything with this particular adjustment, so I'm just going to delete this. I still have my brightness and contrast, and I still have my background down here. Let's play with photo filters. A photo filter will basically cool or warm your photo, bring out certain colors a little more. I don't think this photo needs warmed any. I think the cooling filter looks better, but you can put any one of these filters, blue, green, orange. But I like the cooling filter on this one, I think. When these little eyes beside your layers basically say if they're on or off. So in this case, your brightness and your photo filter layers are not on. And now they are, and you can see them changing the background. So if you want to see what your photo looked like before you did the adjustments, you would just click these eyes off, and then to see what they look like with the adjustments, you just click them back on. And you can just play around in here. Gradient maps, don't probably want to get into that right now. Those are fun. Levels, that's a whole other beast. You can get really intense with levels. I haven't even scratched the surface. But you can just play around with some different effects. And I actually kind of like that. So this is the original photo right here. This is with levels added. This is with the brightness and contrast, and this is with the cooling filter. So whether you think that looks better or not, it's just a different look, and you can totally change the feel of your photo with just a few minor tweaks and adjustments here in Photoshop Elements, which is really cool. Like I said, you might have your Photoshop set up, your element set up a little differently with these panels, but if you can't find something, you should be able to go under Window and find your adjustments or whatever else you might be looking for here. And say I wanted to pull up my color swatches, it'll bring it up down here then, which I don't really care about my color swatches, but there's my adjustments. So, and then you have all of your layers here. So I would just say welcome to the really fun world of editing. And you can get a lot more in depth with it, and I might do a couple more videos later on like adding text, and I have some different free actions here. Oops. Some different actions which are little editing things you can download off the internet, which give it a different look too. But we can do that next time. So for now, just play with your adjustments and just see what you can do with your photos. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you. Oh, I should probably say, if you like the way your photo looks, say I'm happy with this. Then just go under File. I always do Save As because I shoot RAW and I save it as a JPEG. But then just go under File, call it whatever you want. I call it Apples. You can save it in whatever folder you want. I'd probably save it in my folder called Photos, format JPEG, and just click Save. I think it gives you an option of what resolution, so you can save it as a large file, which takes up more room, or a smaller file. If you just, for example, just want to post it on Facebook, then a smaller file works well too. So that is working with adjustments in Photoshop Elements.